So it's a very limited area. It's quite easy for the NYPD to segment it off and just say to people, hey, this is not a place to gather. It's going to be all televised. That's the best way for people to see it. Look, this was a compromise. Macy's was fantastic, and we worked closely with the state to figure out something that was safe, that was really compact, but also could bring the joy of what they do, not only to us, the whole nation watches this parade, and it's a great representation of New York City. So the simple answer is it's a very small area. It's going to be clearly demarcated so that people know it's not a spectator event, and I think we'll succeed in keeping that small.
Go ahead, James. I appreciate being able to quote you straight to you. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
also,
don't do it again, James.
I'll try not to. Instead, I'll ask a question from my colleague, Kalarama. She says she wants to know, look, it may be premature, but will a COVID vaccine ultimately be a requirement for students to return to the classroom?
No, at this point, that is not the plan. It's a perfectly fair question, but that is not the plan. First of all, the vaccine, we could get as early as next month, obviously, which is fantastic, but it will take time to get the quantities we need. We're looking now again at opening in stages, but consistently. A lot of testing, and schools have proven to be very, very safe. So over time, I think as the vaccine gets distributed much more widely, that's going to allow us, it's going to certainly help us to keep schools strong and get more and more kids back into schools. There's even a possibility at some point in the school year going back to 5-day if the vaccine is widely distributed enough. But for now, the plan is to rely on testing heavily and phase in the reopening.
The next is David Cruz from Gothamist.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good, David. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. So you've hinted at the bigger role testing will play when schools reopen. You mentioned the plan is to test the entire student body, which is roughly more than 300,000 students, as well as faculty on what seems more than once a month. And that's a considerable amount of testing. So can you explain what logistical hurdles the city has raised and resolved with the state and school labor unions in realizing and sustaining this higher demand for testing?
Well, David, we haven't resolved the whole package, but there's been very good conversations. As I said, I've talked to the governor in detail about this. I've certainly spoken to our labor colleagues. I think what is starting to emerge is a picture that is just a focus on more testing and other measures to just intensify. We already had a gold standard for keeping our schools safe. It worked. We want to go even farther, given the second wave bearing down on us. We want to beat the second wave too. And the other restrictions coming are going to certainly help us do that. But I think the simple fact is we are going to sort out the pieces, get everyone in maximum agreement, announce a plan starting next week, and then implement it in phases, and we'll make adjustments as we see it play out on the ground. And that's the other thing we always learn dealing with COVID. It's one thing to have it on paper, it's another thing on the ground. We're going to figure out the right way to make it work. Go ahead, David.